That's how I would experiment and figure it out. So Chief Keef, definitely Lil Uzi, Juice World. But then nowadays, I would say
Hello, everyone. Today we have a very special guest joining us from Chicago, Illinois. We have the musician / artist Wilmo joining us. Thank you for joining us today, man. How's everything going for you?
it's going very good, very good. I appreciate you guys having me. This is my first interview ever, so I'm very excited. I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm excited to have everyone get to know me.
No, absolutely.
We're looking forward to it.
We appreciate it as well. Jump into the questions. Can we kind of just get a quick story of you?
Yeah.
How old are you? Where were you born, raised? Anything else you think would be important?
Of course. Yeah, so I am 24 right now. I'm not from Chicago. I was born in LaGrange, Illinois, and I grew up around Naperville. I kind of grew up in a household that really was super into music, and so that's kind of where I got my musical background and my ear for knowing what was good and what wasn't. But alongside that, I was also like a really shy and independent kid too. So I was always by myself doing my own thing. And I guess I had like friends and friend groups, but I was never really that big into it. I just stuck to myself and did what I liked. So that's kind of where, it led me to doing this, because this is something that I do on my own and something that I have passion for. And all the experiences that I had when I was younger kind of just were put into making music.
Right. Absolutely. Can you kind of tell us about life in Illinois, life in Chicago? How's that?
It's great. It's nothing super exciting unless, you're living in the city, going out all the time, partying and whatnot. But that's not the type of person I really am. Right now, I'm living in DeKalb right now, DeKalb, Illinois. So I am like out here just sitting at home, making music, making content. And when I have to work, I go work so I can make money to continue investing into the music. But for the most part, for me, it's nothing special. It's nothing crazy. But I know as I continue and grow, I'll get to a point where I'm able to live freely and just make music and go out and do shows and tour. So that's my main goal. So hopefully it all pays off soon.
That's really good to hear. Kind of like outside of music, what are your hobbies that you like to do to kind of spend your time?
Yeah. So I like to work out and play sports, which I don't have as much time for anymore, but I still try to work out, maybe 3-4 times a week. I'm getting super into boxing right now. I don't know why I started getting into boxing. I literally just like one day decided to spar with my brother, and once I got over the fear of like getting hit in the face, I was like, I love this. This is fun. So I've just been boxing a whole bunch, and that's been really cool to learn. On top of that, okay, like sales is work to me, but also it is a hobby because it's something that like I never thought I'd be able to be good at, because I was a kid that was super shy and didn't know how to talk to people. And now I'm someone who can actually go out there and sell somebody something. So that's really cool to me, and it's really cool to be able to just grow my skills in that and get better at dealing with people.
How did you get into sales?
Some dude had hit me up on Instagram. He was like, hey, I have a pest control, like sales job where you sell pest control. And I was like, this is a little bit sketchy, but I'm going to say yes. I was at a point in my life where I was not the type of person to say yes to everything. So I was like, I'm going to challenge myself. I'm going to say yes. And so I looked him up on LinkedIn and everything. And I was like, okay, he seems legit. I just went through with it. And I was like, if I fail, I fail. At least I learned something. I didn't fail, but I didn't do as well as I thought. But I learned so much and I grew so much that I was like, I'm going to try this again. It's a job where you just work in the summer. So I was like, I'm going to come back the next summer and get better. And I got a lot better, and I was like mind blown at how much I changed. So I was like, I'm going to stick with this. This is cool.
Oh, that's really cool. Transitioning to more your music and everything. We both have a connection with Save the Underground and Bren. How did you kind of join Save the Underground or get involved with that?
Yeah. Okay. So it was back in like January. There's an engineer, his name is Josh Bonanno. He was connected with Bren already, but then he had followed me, and I was super like into what he was doing because he had mixed a song for Knox and a couple other big artists. So I was like, this is pretty cool. Let me check it out. And so I checked out a bunch of stuff that he made, and I wanted to see if he was good at mixing like rock, because that was the style that I made. And one day maybe I want to be able to work with him. So I saw that the one rock song that he did mix was Bren's song. So I clicked it and I listened to it, and I was like, who is this Bren guy? I'm interested. And then I heard the hook for that song, Take Me Out This Place. And I was hooked, I guess. Like that hook was amazing. I followed him, I texted him, and I was like, dude, this is fire. We should work, something like that. And he was like, yeah, thank you. I'm working on this little community of artists. I think you'd be good for it. So that's just kind of how we met, in a sense.
Well, I love that. It's really cool to see like how small artists and like people like us and creatives connect with each other, because I feel like it's such a small world and
Yeah.
everyone has their own unique story. And how were you introduced to music?
So that's through my parents. They are just super big music people. My mom, she played piano for a lot of her life. My dad played guitar. They would just always be listening to music. They would have radio playing in the morning when I would wake up for school. The biggest bands that they would play is U2 and Green Day. I would be sitting there all day listening to this music, and it was just filling my head with all these different words and melodies, and I'm like, this is really cool. So I just fell in love with music, and I kind of just went on my own journey. So they started me there, and then anything else that I found interesting and cool, I would listen to and get obsessed with. Like, everyone hates on Nickelback, but I'm not gonna lie to you, Nickelback is amazing. And like, they were one of my biggest inspirations and one of my favorite bands when I was like 9, 10 years old. So they're cool.
Right.
Out Nickelback.
I love Nickelback as well.
Good.
Like they get too much undeserved hate.
For real, they do. They definitely do.
Other than those bands, that kind of sounds like U2, Green Day, Nickelback were kind of your early influences.
Yes.
Dive into your main music influences, like now that you kind of get your influences by.
Yeah. So it's pretty interesting actually. So now is a little bit different from when I first started. So when I started, I wanted to be a rapper. Like, my number one biggest inspiration ever is Chief Keef. And like, it's so funny for me to say that, because who I am, I'm just like a Filipino kid, and my biggest inspiration is Chief Keef, and I make like rock music. So it's just really weird, but he, like, the way that he was so different than everyone else around him, and the fact that he was from Chicago, so close to me, it hit home. It made me feel like this was something that I could do too. He was one of the like early Chicago rappers that would sing on his songs. So I was like, I want to try to sing. Like I wouldn't have tried to sing if it wasn't for him. So I would get some like futuristic Chicago bop type beats, they would call it, and I would turn the auto tune all the way up, and I would just sing. And that's how I would experiment and figure it out. So Chief Keef, definitely Lil Uzi, Juice WRLD. But then nowadays, I would say Ed Sheeran, obviously MGK for like the punk rock aspect, and Metallica and Slipknot are very inspirational to me too. Just because of the songwriting that they have is just really good.
Those are all very good. And I think just because of the wide range that you have, I think that kind of explains how diverse some of your music is as well.
Yeah.
I actually told Caleb for this that your new single, it gave me Juice WRLD vibes. So I was kind of waiting for that to pop up. But no, that's all those are all good. And a couple of my favorites as well that you mentioned there. Kind of relating to that, let's kind of go into the music industry. But MGK was the beginning of like the punk rock, pop punk revival. What are your thoughts on all the pop punk coming back?
I think it's amazing. I never was super into pop punk back in the day, but now that he brought it back with a more modern twist and less of like an emo feel to it, I like it a lot more. And also, I wouldn't be making this type of music if it wasn't for that. I think it's real good, and it was really inspiring to me.
Absolutely. That's honestly my favorite type of music, and my algorithm is what led me to you. Actually, your music came up on my algorithm because of all the pop punk stuff.
Right. That's cool.
Yeah. And were you a fan of like Blink-182 or any of like the classic pop punk guys like Sum 41 growing up at all?
Growing up, no, but these days, yes. Because I have more of an ear for that now. When I was growing up, it was more just like, obviously, I like Green Day, but they are a little bit more mainstream. But back in the day, it was just more like whatever my parents were listening to and then whatever I heard on the radio and stuff like that. Nowadays, now that I have more of that ear for this type of music, I definitely do really like them.
No, absolutely. That all makes sense. Now, again, going back to the industry, what are your thoughts on all of these bands or musicians kind of crossing genres? You know, like MGK going from like rap, hip hop to rock.
Yeah.
Post Malone has a new country album that a lot of people either love or hate.
Yeah.
A lot of other examples. What do you think about all that?
I think that's huge. I think that's something you should do as an artist. If you're a band, maybe not, but as a solo artist, yes, because I think that's your biggest strength as a solo artist is versatility, and that's what's going to give you like a long lasting career as an artist, and having the ability to sound good and make good music on any type of beat in any style is amazing. And so that's something I'm striving for. That's something that I try to do as well. And I've always told myself that I want to at some point transition into country and metal at some point, because I was very inspired by metal, so I want to see where I can take that. But yeah, I agree with everyone switching genres. I think it's really cool.
Right. No, absolutely. I think it really shows the real talent of all these musicians as well.
Exactly. Yep.
You know, that also makes sense with you saying you're trying to do it as well. I mean, we're going to dive deeper into it later in the questions, but hearing your kind of transition between the different genres was something we'll get into later. Again, relating to all the bands that we've been talking about, what's currently on your playlist?
Yeah, what's on my playlist? You know, all I've been listening to is the Chicago rap scene right now. So I've been super into like Vaughn. Do you guys know Vaughn off 1700?
I do not know.
Okay.
Sounds familiar.
He's pretty famous right now, but like him and then Lil Jeff, you know, a lot of the Chicago rappers I've been listening to a lot to right now. But aside from that, I have still been listening to a lot of country. I might like find an occasional new song that just pops up out of the algorithm or something, and I'll listen to that. But I don't have anything really like set on my playlist that I listen to. It's just like whatever comes up, comes up. For the most part, honestly, I'm just always listening to my own music so I can like judge it and see how I can do better. And also, I'm in the middle of like mixing a bunch of songs. So whenever I'm in the car, I just am listening to the same song over and over so I can figure out what I need to do.
I was actually curious about that. I was going to ask if you listen to your own music.
Yeah, I do. Like, I do way too much, honestly. It's crazy, but I made it and I love it. So, you know, why not listen to it?
Right. Absolutely. I was just curious if that would make you like almost too critical of it in a way, but
I definitely am. I go through phases where I'm like, this is the greatest song ever, or I'm like, this is complete garbage. So it's on and off.
No, I get that. Apple Music or Spotify?
Spotify.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I use both, but I can't lie. I use Apple Music more.
What do you like about it?
I mean, honestly, I don't know. The algorithms I think's been kind of better because I'm the same way. I don't have any playlist like at all. I literally just put on my radio station or whatever, and it just spits out all this different music that I always end up liking. To be honest, I do like Spotify, how you can like create a jam and all that stuff. That's like the only reason why I have it, to be honest.
Did you find me through the Apple Music algorithm? Mm-hmm. Okay. That's pretty cool.
Right.
That's awesome.
That's how I found Bren. I mean, that's how a lot of the artists I find through that. So
yeah, that's awesome.
It's working. Yeah. And then through the music that you've been listening to, do you have any recommendations for anyone that's you consider underground?
Underground. Yeah, so it's not often that I listen to too much underground music, but there is a dude that I found recently. I think you might actually know him because I'm sure he's popped up because he pops up around my name too. His name is The New Violence.
Okay.
Have you heard of him?
I've probably come across him. He doesn't ring a bell, but probably.
He's pretty cool. I found him on Spotify, and his songwriting is so good and his mixes are so good, and so I definitely want to work with him, but he's in LA, so I got to make it to LA. But on top of that, I have a team here, so I have my manager, and then I also live with my boy Pasty, who's also an artist. He makes like rap mixed with like alternative rock type of stuff, like 80s rock, damn near. So he makes really cool music, and so he's also someone I've been listening to too.
Gotta show the love, of course.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Kind of getting into your songwriting. When did you first start writing lyrics?
So that was when I first started making music when I was 17. So I was writing lyrics, but those lyrics back then were more like me trying to copy Chief Keef and trying to copy Speaker Knockers and Lil Uzi and all of them. They weren't really from the heart, but I went because this was when I was like 17. So then I went through high school and then college. When I was like 21 or so, I I got broken up with by this girl, and that's what sparked everything for me, you know? So before that, I was writing like a SoundCloud rapper would. And after that was when I was like, I now have so much substance and so much emotion to put into a song and so much to write about. So that's when I started transitioning and putting all of those thoughts and feelings into my songs, and then it just kept going up from there. I started to realize how much I love actually writing a song instead of just making music. And so that's why I think everything that I do make is very good because of the songwriting, because I put so much effort into making sure my words are memorable and catchy. And so that's how that came to be. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's awesome.
It,
Talking to like so many like different artists through CNL Media, we've kind of gotten a bunch of different processes. What does your kind of like songwriting process look like? Because we have people say like writing in notes, voice memos. What does your kind of process look like as a whole?
Yeah, so that I definitely use notes where whenever I have an idea, I write it down. And then if ever I have like a melody idea, then I will hum it in notes. But for the most part, the way that my songs typically come up, because right now I'm at the point where, or actually, what I used to do is get all of my beats off YouTube, but now I'm trying to transition into making my own songs from scratch. So now that's kind of where I'm at. But when it comes to the YouTube beats, everything that you hear now and everything that you're gonna hear for the next maybe like 6 months are YouTube beats. So when you come across that, it's like if I find a beat that really like inspires me, then right away like melodies and words will start coming into my head, and I'm picking and choosing which ones I like. I'll jot those down and then I'll put that beat into Logic, and then I'll just record everything that comes to my head. So I'll kind of like freestyle and hum a bunch of different melodies and stuff on the track, and I'll pick out what I like, pick out what I don't. And then there's just the process of hearing different words within those mumbles that I put down. And that's how just everything comes together. Because I feel like the best songs are songs that you didn't try too hard to make. So anything that just comes from your subconscious and is just like brought forward to you that you didn't think about, that's usually the best thing to put on the song.
mm,
Oh, that's awesome. I don't know how to kind of word this, but I guess does it like come naturally when you freestyle, or how do you kind of like develop on the fly like words to like
Yeah.
develop into a beat like that?
Well, I can't lie. I'm pretty trash at freestyling, but I can't come up with words. But what I'll do is just mumble. So like I'll just be like, ba 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 in like different tone, different melodies. From there, a word might pop up here and there. I'll listen back to the track, and then I will be able to hear different things out of that
mm,
group of melodies, if that makes sense. Like words will jump out at me and I'll be like, that makes sense, and then I'll write it down.
right.
Yeah, that makes sense. And kind of to wrap up, just like the songwriting section, what are your common themes in your current day lyrics? Because you kind of said influenced by your breakup.
Yeah.
To kind of start your lyrics in like the SoundCloud era. What's your common themes in your lyrics current day?
A lot of it is breakup themed, but also a lot of it is self-reflection. The thoughts that I have and like internal dialogues that I have are now put into a song. So it's really just me putting personal experience and my own thoughts and realizations of myself into lyrics, you know?
I don't want to say it's sad, but like breakups and like emotional things like that are obviously like very traumatic. But we've said
Yeah,
this with a bunch of different artists that we've talked to. Like, it makes really good music. It makes really
it
meaningful
does.
lyrics.
It definitely does.
So it's good for something, I guess.
Yeah, true.
Going into kind of the start of your music career when you started releasing music, we were just kind of curious because like the first batch of music that you could release was more like hip hop rap styled, like you were talking about. We were just kind of curious what kind of happened or what clicked in your mind that you were like, okay, time to throw some more rock themes into this after like
Yeah.
your collection 1 EP that you released. Like, what just kind of clicked in your mind to kind of try something new?
Yeah. So in that first collection, there's a song called I'm Alive. That is a little bit of a rock sound mixed with rap. Like it has a punk element with a trap beat. So that was like my first introduction. And so making that song definitely made me realize the ability to be versatile when it comes to picking beats. But I really didn't try the full on rock until one of my friends that also was making music at the time, he started sending me like little snippets of his songs that he would make on pop punk beats. And I was like, this is really cool and really different. Also, I think I can do it better than him. So I want to see if I can like, make a better song and outshine him. Cause like the way I look at it, a lot of times I like to compete with people, but not in like a bad way. It's more just like how can I do better? So like I'll be like, you're good, but I wanna see if I can do better and outshine and like, just show you what I can do type of thing. So I decided I was gonna try some rock beats, and then I did it. And the first one I made was like it's called Not Again. I think that's the first one I ever made, and I was just blown away that I literally just made that, and so I was just hooked on it. So I just kept making the rock beats, and then transition into more like alternative rock, and then here we are now. Now I'm doing what I'm doing now.
Absolutely. It's a cool story. And you mentioned like some of your early rock songs. The song that actually came up on my algorithm that is, I believe, is one of your earlier songs, Lean On. I was curious, what's kind of the story slash message behind that single in particular?
Yeah. So the message is just me being lonely. Like at the time, I was like, I miss having someone who was there to take care of me, cook for me, do all of this stuff that she did. And I was like, I now have no one to lean on, so I want someone to lean on. It was a cool kind of story though, because this was my second summer doing sales. So I was out of the studio for like 2 months or something, and I was like itching to get back. So it was one weekend that I had free time. So I went to the studio and I put that beat on, and then I did my little freestyle mumble thing. And the first thing I came up with was that I just need somebody to lean on line. And so I was like, this is a really cool concept. Why don't I just run with it? I didn't get too much done. And that's the thing with the way that I write, I don't find myself finishing a lot of songs within an hour or two like a lot of other people. Sometimes it takes a lot longer because I let things just come to me. If I stop feeling the inspiration, I will stop and move on. And then I might like listen back to it in the car a couple minutes later, and then everything hits me. So yeah, that one took a little bit of time. I think that took me like 5 months to actually finish, but everything stemmed from that one little line that I created right then and there, which is pretty cool.
Right. No, absolutely. Do a lot of your songs, I know you said it depends, but do a lot of your songs take that long? Or like what's like the fastest you've done? You've made a song and then like the slowest?
I would say they don't all take that long. For the most part, it might take like a couple weeks to maybe a month or two, but I have written a couple songs within like a couple hours. I'm pretty sure I'm Alive. I made that in like 2, 3 hours. Brown Eyes, I did that in 2, 3 hours. Jump was in like 2 hours. And there's a bunch of other songs that haven't come out yet that I wrote pretty fast. But yeah, a lot of them I'll come up with ideas right there. And then a week later, all of the ideas will just hit me out of nowhere. And then I'll come back to it and finish it like that.
Right. Absolutely. Now, kind of transitioning to some of your newer music, your last two singles that you released,
Meant It.
and Thru to You. What is kind of the story behind them / kind of the meaning behind those two?
Yeah, so Meant It was that one was about me leaving a toxic environment, and I just didn't feel like I was getting the respect that I deserved. And so I was like, screw this. I'm going to leave this and go and do my own thing and show you guys who I really am. I'm going to show you the potential that I have and who I can be. So I left that environment, put that aside, and decided to just go all in on getting good at music and, you know, going and doing sales and bettering myself. And then I came up with that. That's why at the end it's like, and I'm leaving because like I'm out of here. I'm not coming back. And I never did come back. So I'm doing great. And then Through to You. This one's actually interesting. This one, I love the story of this one because this shows a lot of I guess versatility in my songwriting, because this one's not about me. I was at a point where I had no inspiration and I wanted to challenge myself. So my friend had came by to my house one day and he was like going through it with this girl. And so he was like, dude, she's like not responding to me. She's giving me all these weird mixed messages when I'm in person and she acts like she likes me, but now she's not responding. She's leaving me on red. And I was like, let me write a song about this. So I told him, tell me the entire story. Let me write it down. And then I'm going to come back with a song. And he told me everything. If I were to tell you that entire story, it'll be so crazy for you to like listen back to the song and realize like how much it hits once you know the story. But I was just really impressed and proud of myself for being able to do that, because that was it's not even something that I went through, and I was able to just put myself in his shoes and make something beautiful to it.
Right. No, that's definitely a unique one. That's really cool.
You talked about like your different processes with your songwriting, developing beats, where like beats origins come from and everything. What does kind of your music release schedule look like, from like writing to recording to producing and ready to release? Like what does that kind of like schedule look like for you?
Yeah, so I'm lucky enough to have a lot of songs written already and pretty much ready to just be recorded and mixed. My process right now is pretty much on the weekends. This is the studio right here. I'm literally sitting by the studio. We got a booth and everything, so it's pretty cool. So I just come down here, I sit here all day, and I just record whatever song I want to come out next. I get that recorded. I'll sit on it for a couple days because my ears get super fatigued after recording. So after a couple days, I'll go back to mixing it. After mixing it, I send it out to my manager here, and we just go back and forth and figure out how we can make it better, how we can make it pop. And then once it's ready, we upload it. I pretty much just try to have everything ready so that I can drop every 2 to 3 weeks, just so I can keep the algorithm going for me.
Awesome. And what do you think? How have you changed the most musically?
I mean, definitely songwriting wise, but also a big thing is singing too. In the beginning, I didn't know at all how to sing. I never took vocal lessons and anything like that. So I would just rely on the auto tune and just throw that all the way up and hope that it did what it needed to do. But I've been trying to stray away from the super auto-tune sound now and just get a little bit more natural of a sound. I did do vocal lessons for a couple months back in like 2021, which was pretty good. And on top of that, I just watch a lot of like vocal coach videos on YouTube and try to learn how to sing better. So I'm getting better at that. And a lot of the songs you've heard before, these next ones that are about to drop, they're all songs that I did throw a bit more auto tune on and I processed them a bit more. But everything you hear from now on, I have gotten my singing voice a lot stronger, and I'm gonna strive to make it less processed, more clean, and give it that nice professional feel.
Absolutely. Something else that I thought has been interesting as we've been meeting all these different musicians is being able to recognize their voice as being the voice in the music. You know what I mean? Like being able to kind of connect the two. And what you're saying about you working on your own voice, getting away from a more processed sound. I can definitely hear like just in you talking right now, I'm like, oh yeah, that's definitely the guy from the songs. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a good thing. So now kind of jumping into the future and what that looks like for you. I know you said usually you try to get new singles out every 2 to 3 weeks. Like how many singles do you have on deck, like ready to go and get released?
I think seven or eight. I mean, those are ones that are ready to record. I also have another 10 to 15 that are close to being finished that I just have to put the finishing touches on. But for the most part, I have 7 that are fully ready to be recorded and mixed. So the plan is to have those come out every 2 to 3 weeks. And then while I'm working on those, while I have those coming out, I will be finishing everything else too. So it'll be just a process of staying consistent with all that.
Right. Consistency is definitely key. We're
Yeah.
Me and Caleb are figuring that out ourselves
Yeah.
with posting and everything.
Exactly. Yeah. Are you guys on TikTok too?
Mm-hmm.
Do you post on
We
TikTok?
are. Yeah.
Okay. I'll make sure to follow you because like TikTok has been going crazy. It takes a long time, I guess, for it to realize who your target market is. But after like a year and 5 months of posting, I finally have found my, target market and the algorithms working. So stay consistent on that because it'll definitely pay off.
On TikTok in particular, like we don't have a ton of followers on it, but we've had a couple of videos like blow up and have like 500,000 views. Like it's so like strange and just so random.
Yeah.
It almost feels like
crazy.
It feels like luck at times, but
it definitely does.
Yeah.
I definitely feel that too.
Can you give us any hints or sneak peeks at any titles for singles coming out soon? Anything to look out for?
Yeah.
That you're allowed to share?
Yeah.
I can share. Oh yeah, the next one is it's called Trying to Change It. I like this one because it's another challenge that I gave myself, and I wrote like a little breakup type of song where you're looking back in your mind trying to fix everything, but I wrote it as a story of like time travel. You'll get it when you listen to it, but I'm super excited for this one because it has like a really cool like early 2000s pop punk feel, and it feels like it's like a Disney Channel type of song. So I'm super excited for it. It's like a radio type of song. So that's going to be cool. And then I just got a lot more just like pop punk alternative rock on the way. And these I have in like order of just like my opinion of how good they are. I see it getting better and better and better and people liking it more and more. So I'm excited for everything to come.
No, we're excited. I mean, that sounds like probably 2-3 weeks down the road it should come out, but something like that.
Yes, 2 weeks, I think.
No, sweet. No, we're excited for that. And you just mentioned kind of an order of the songs you've been releasing. Is there any plans for an EP, album, anything like that?
No, I wish, but in this day and age, like you can't really drop an album unless you have a pretty big fan base. So it's just going to be singles for now. And then hopefully once I hit that point where I have a big loyal fan base, I'll drop an album. It'll actually do what I want it to do, right? Because if I were to drop it now, it would just be a waste of a lot of songs. So I definitely want to just stay consistent, do my singles and make that algorithm work for me. And then I definitely do at some point want to drop an album, but now is not the time. So I'll be waiting for that time. I'm excited.
Right. No, one thing we actually talked to Brent about, it might have been off camera, but we talked to him about, singles versus EPs and everything. I think he said he has an EP coming out at some point this year. But, he talked about basically like the science behind the algorithm being like, for smaller artists like ourselves, singles is the way to go so that each one gets like the equal amount of love, essentially. Whereas like you just said, he mentioned that, they're on albums a lot of the time, half of the songs don't even really get listened to, which is
true.
What wants to be avoided, obviously. So that makes perfect sense. Do you have any plans for any collaborations or any features on any of your songs or songs that you're featured on coming up soon?
No, I got nothing like that in the works. I definitely am open to collabing with people. My issue is I just am always working on my own songs and it's hard for me to focus on 2 things at a time, but I definitely do love collabing with people and I want to. So if something did come up, I definitely would. But yeah, sometimes it gets difficult managing so many different things, but
Right.
I'm open to it though.
Kind of one of those things where it's like, yeah, the right thing has to come up at the right time.
Yes.
No, I mean, hit up Bren. He's been working with some people recently.
Dude, I definitely want to. I actually really do respect him. He's good. I love his flows and the new feature he just did with I don't remember what his name was, but his verse on that was amazing. So I definitely can see myself working with him too.
You talking about Shelter with something Hawthorne, right?
Yes. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, no, that song's been stuck in my head too. That's a really good one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fire.
Are you in the like Save the Underground group chat that he was talking about?
I am. Yeah, I am in it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not super active in it, but I am in it.
Right. No, I was just kind of curious how that's been. He offered to put us in it, and then I forget what happened. I mean, we're not obviously not musicians, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, that's a good way for you to get connected with all of them. You could just interview every single one of them. I think there's like 30 something people in there.
Mm-hmm. We have actually connected with some of the groups already. Groups
That's
and
good.
solo artists. We interviewed, I don't know how familiar you are, Junior, JNR. He's in the group too. He's a alternative artist from Australia.
Okay.
But we got connected with him through Bren. At some point, he shouted us out in the group chat, from what I understand,
Yeah.
because we had a bunch of people from the group follow us like the next day,
That's awesome.
which was cool. Kind of the last part of this question is, what do you have planned for shows / live performances?
Yeah, I'm kind of putting a hold on that. We were doing a whole bunch of shows like back in 2023, I think. Yeah, 2023. We were doing shows and it was good because it was getting me out of my shell and I was figuring out how to act on stage and how to perform for people. But we just realized it's not smart right now because we're not making money from it. It's not profitable. Like you got to run this as a business, right? And it's not something where you can just go out and have fun. Like you got to take it serious and make it a business. So we were driving out to Chicago on the weekends, spending a bunch of gas and then having to pay $20 to perform. It just made no sense. So we had to stop. And then we just decided we got to build a fan base online that will actually show up to shows, and then we can do shows. So that's the stage we're in now. We're trying to build that fan base. It's definitely working. It's a slow grind, but we're getting to the point where hopefully soon we can quit our jobs and just go out and do shows.
Right. Do you have any favorites of the shows you have done so far, or any standout memories, good or bad?
Yes. So obviously the first one that I ever did, that was a huge moment for me because I never thought I was ever going to be able to do that. I honestly was ready to not ever take music seriously because I was too scared to perform. And this was in 2022. I was like, I can't perform. I can't do it. But I sucked it up and I did it and I felt amazing. Like that literally changed my life right there. I was like, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I was made for. So I did that. And that was great. But another one, the third show that I did, I think at the Beat Kitchen, was that the second? Yeah. That was the third one. I did a show at this place called the Beat Kitchen in Chicago. It was just funny because the entire crowd was, not rock fans. It was all like rap fans, and I go up there and I just play rock music, but everybody loved it. Mm. So that was special to me because I realized that if you make good music and you put that energy and emotion into it, people will love it.
Right. Very cool.
That's amazing. Kind of transitioning to a bit more of the social media side, kind of to wrap up the interview and everything. Mm-hmm. What does your social media and video content plans look like for the future?
It looks like, when it comes to TikTok, I just try to post once a day, and that seems to be working. I don't really have any crazy plans with that. But when it comes to my singles, I work with a videographer and we just make one really good looking and good feeling reel for Instagram, and we post that. We run an ad for that. That's been really good for building what we call like diehard fans because that ad reaches out to exactly who we want it to reach out to. And then those people, in turn, they follow. And then out of the big pool of people that follow, you get a few people who are like, I really like this, and they DM you and continuously engage. And then when it comes to those people, those are the people who really mean the most. So I take it upon myself to make sure that they feel the love back, and I, make a friend out of them, and, build relationships. So that's what we do with that. But for the most part, we just like to stay consistent, post every day, and try to make things look professional. There's no music videos in the works because sadly they don't really do what you want them to do these days. But once we have a budget and we got a label behind us, I cannot wait to make crazy music videos.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it. A little bit off topic, but not really. But how does your sales experience kind of play into that business aspect of bringing your music out to the masses and building that audience?
That's a great question. That is really the reason that this is all possible. Like, it changed my life for sure. Like, the skills that I learned when I was out there is everything when it comes to what I'm doing now, because it's all about relationship building, making a friend, connecting with people. And if I never learned any of that, I would not sit here and respond to 150, 200 comments in a 1 hour sitting. I would not DM people back. I would just be like, oh, cool, thanks. But instead, I'm like trying to start a conversation. I'm trying to make a friend out of them. And it's everything. That's how you build a business, a sustainable, long-lasting fan base.
Beautifully put. Beautifully put. What is your ultimate goal with music?
I want to be on the radio. I want to do sold out stadium tours. I want to be like Ed Sheeran, honestly. Like, he's one of my biggest inspirations, like his songwriting ability, his ability to, have that solid fan base that's always going to show up. Like, when I went to his show last year at Soldier Field, and this dude broke the record for ticket sales, and he sold like 76,000 tickets. And I was sitting there looking at all of the people there, and I was like, I need this. Like, this has to be me. So I want to, and especially because all this music that's about to come out, this is like more mainstream type music, because like Meant It doesn't have that mainstream feel, but everything else does. And so I want moms to listen to me when they're in Target shopping with their kids. I just want to be huge. I really want to be a big artist.
I love it. I love it. Kind of expanding on that question too, and this is the last kind of question on it. What is your definition of music success?
Music success is living off of your work. I want to be very, very famous and a very big artist, but if that didn't happen and I was able to just live comfortably off of my music, I'll take it. That's success to me.
Awesome. And last question to wrap up this wonderful interview. What are your social media plugs? What do you want to plug? This is your time, any future projects, but mainly like your social media. What do you want to plug?
Yeah, so Instagram is _ Wilmo, WILMO. TikTok, I believe, is the same. TikTok is Wilmo Music. Same with YouTube, Wilmo Music. All I want to say is I'm just very excited for all the music to come. If you like the pop punk alternative rock music, you will love whatever I have in store. And appreciate you guys. That's all I got.
Thank you so much for coming on. This was a wonderful interview.
Of course, I appreciate you guys very much. You made me feel very welcome, so I loved it.
Right.
Awesome.
We try to make it easy. So yeah, hopefully it was.
It was.
So if you could do us a favor, we're going to end the recording.